Next up is agency terms. You will use this when trying to get an agency or when talking to your agency. These are terminology you should know. An agency itself is a business that signs models agreeing to submit them for jobs, receive and render payments, and showcase the model on their website. A mother agent can be a whole agency or an individual person who helps you to develop your career, place you in other markets, and takes a percentage of everything you make. Now, the mother agent takes that extra money from the new agent that they sign you with. So if your mother agent sends you to agent number two takes the 20% that all agencies take from you, and then they take 10% of that 20 and they give it back to your mother agent. So your mother agent gets 10 and your second agent gets 10, and at the end of the day you always pay somebody 20%. A sister agency, that's an agency that works with the one you're signed with. They often sign models from your agency. They are not the same company and they operate entirely separate from one another. There have been times, one time I had a job in Arkansas, and for some reason it was being booked through this agency in Miami, even though I had an agency in New York. My New York agent was sister agencies with this agency in Miami. So at the job, I was referred to as if I was from the sister agency, and the check went to that sister agency, but I did not have a contract with the sister agency. I was not on their website. There was no binding agreement between us. Once they got the check, they sent it because they have an agreement as a sister agency with my New York agent to my New York agent, who then gave me the payment like normal. I have never dealt with that agency in Miami again. If ever I did the job again, of course I would, but outside of that, I don't deal with them. I don't get tax papers from them. It's not involved. Now that I say that, I might get a tax paper from them. I'd have to go back and look at that. I'll talk about that later in the course. Boutique agency. That's typically a smaller agency with about 2 to 4 agents total. A boutique agency may be a better choice for you if you would like a lot of attention. Some models really want that hands-on attention that you can get from a boutique agency. Now, some models may get that with big agencies, but not every model gets the attention because there's only so much attention to go around. A manager. This is someone who is meant to develop your career, kind of like a mother agent, but it's typically a person, and they typically don't work at an agency. They help you to obtain representation that is best suited for you, and they help you to leave if it's not working out, and they typically take 10% of anything you make. Now, typically, again, that 10% is going to come out of the agency's 20% they take from you. They would then give 10% to your manager for bringing that the connection to them. That is not always the case. Everything in modeling is a case-by-case basis. A booker or an agent. This is a person who works at the agency that represents you. You may have one, or you may have as many 6 for one division. Your agents can be fired at any time, and there is nothing you can do about it. If they go to another agency and they ask you to follow them, that can get you in trouble legally. It is known as poaching. We will talk about that later. Scout. This is a person who looks for models and sets up a meeting for them to potentially be signed. Most of the time, they're not an agent. Although an agent can scout you, they are typically not a scout, they're an agent. Their main job is being an agent. Whereas a scout's main job, they could do 10 other things. They could work in Uber or they could be a FedEx driver. But if they understand the modeling industry and they are constantly around a lot of new people, then an agency may work with them as a scout to go find models for them because they're always out in these places where there's lots of new talent to be scouted. Now, the difference between a manager, a booker, and a scout, they kind of sound the same. The manager is going to get you meetings. They can get you castings and bookings. There may be different laws based on the state you're in about these kinds of things. And they typically take 10% of your earnings. So if they were booking you on things between you, them, and the client, they would be taking 10%. If you were with an agent, they would be taking that 10% out of the 20 the agency takes from you. A booker is not somebody you have a contract with. Manager, you would have a contract. Booker, you do not have a contract because you have a contract with the agency. Unless your booker is the owner of the agency, you do not have a contract with the booker specifically, and they could be replaced or fired at any time. So you may have a lot of bookers in your career, or your booker may stick around with you at your agency and you may have one for your entire career or just a handful. The scout gets you meetings. They should not be taking money at all. $0. They get paid by the agency. So when they scout you, that agency will give them either a flat fee per model or a percentage, the same way they would pay a manager or they would pay a mother agent. So that is not coming out of your money. That is a red flag. But everything in the modeling industry is a case-by-case basis. They may charge you for something really small, like digitals, like $50, but digitals over $100 is completely ridiculous, and we'll get more into all of that later. A board, also known as a division. This refers to the models signed to a certain category. Typically, it is a literal board of models. It is all of your cards on the wall in the agency if you are in town. If you are not in town, they will take your cards off the wall and put them in a drawer until you're back in town, because if a client walks in or if they themselves, the agent, are looking at the wall, they want to only see who's in town for visual reference to make it easier when doing submissions all day. Main board. This will be the main board of the agency. At most agencies, the main board is called the women's board. If it's a men's agency, of course, it's going to be the men's board. If it's a curve agency, of course, that's going to be the curve board. Everything in modeling is a case-by-case basis. And all board names are kind of made up. There's a general consensus of what some of them mean, but some agencies just make up words because they think it sounds fun and kitschy and memorable. So you may hear random terms when it comes to how your agency describes the board you are signed to. A women's board. This typically refers to models signed to the agency that would go out for the bulk of women clients. They are not in development. There's not necessarily an age or experience level. It is just when they decide, kind of, and you will have this discussion with your representation about when you would move from the development board to the women's board. The development board, or new faces, also fresh face as it is referred to sometimes, is one that is just starting out and is in need of test and experience. These are typically the youngest, newest, freshest models who have just been signed, who have maybe never worked in the industry before. And so they are sending you to jobs that are a little more patient and not as crazy and can help you to build your book and get lots of good tears. And there's certain goals in mind when you're on the development board. Talent, or sometimes it is referred to as commercial. This, when it is referred to as commercial, would refer to on-camera commercials division. Some agencies include theatrical in their talent division, so it could also be called theatrical, talent, or acting. And that is acting that is not a commercial, so things like film or TV or plays. A runway board. Those are models who are tall enough and open to doing runway bookings. Runway bookings can be anything from catwalks to informals and events. Now, some agencies in some cities, when they sign you, their women's board is also their runway board. So there is no separation. Whereas specifically in Los Angeles and in some other countries, they do separate it out, and they have those who go to print and those who go to runway jobs and those who go to commercial jobs, and some may do 2 or 3 of those things, and some may only do 1. A direct board. This is typically a board of models who do not model full-time, but they have clients who book them since maybe they modeled for decades, or maybe they're famous for things like singing or acting, but they're mostly busy, booked out, singing and acting. So they're on the direct board. They're not necessarily being pushed. They're not trying to get lots of model work. They just happen to do it sometimes. A curve board, or a plus size board. This is typically size 12 to 14. An influencer board. Those are models who are signed predominantly due to their social media following. Now, this could be a model who has lots of followers and gained their followers after they became a model, or it could be somebody who gained a bunch of followers and now has chosen to start modeling. Some agencies have all these boards, some agencies do not. Everything in modeling is a case by case basis. A package. This refers to a group of submissions being sent by an agent containing several models that fit the client's needs or desires to choose from for a casting or upcoming booking. So you yourself will never be sending a package because you don't represent a bunch of models, but a mother agent, a regular agent, or a manager would have packages that they send to clients with multiple models linking directly to their portfolios, sometimes also containing their digitals so that the client can preview them and pick who they want to see or who they want to book. A show package. This is specifically the models ready and willing to do the bulk of Fashion Week. You must be in town, available for full days of castings for about 10 to 15 days before Fashion Week. It's not always 15. Sometimes it can be about 7 days before Fashion Week that the castings start, but they do start a little bit before Fashion Week. So you can't just show up on the day of Fashion Week and think you're going to get booked or walk in shows. And you have to be available for those actual show days, which is anywhere from 7 to 15 days, depending on the year, the season, and the city. Show cards. These are specific cards created for the show season. They are made with some type of theme of colors or graphics added to every model's card. And this makes it easier for the clients to see that you are all from one agency. It makes it recognizable, and the agencies like doing it. You are charged extra for this on top of the usual price of cards for the color printing or the time that it took for them to make these graphic designs. It is a different charge based on every agency, based on what kind of cards they're printing it on, based on what kind of bulk discount they get. It is a case by case basis. Fashion Week. This is referring to the 7 to 15 days of shows in a major market. That is the actual Fashion Week. But then there's Fashion Month. So in press, people talk about it being Fashion Week, but in agencies and models, we typically call it Fashion Month because it really feels like a whole month of dealing with everything about Fashion Week, the castings and fittings, then the shows, and then afterwards the showroom or sometimes editorials. As a model, this can be the most booked time of your year because you'll be doing all of this stuff nonstop for like 4, 5, even 6 weeks sometimes, especially if you're going to multiple fashion weeks and you're flying from one to the next. This could be where you make a large chunk of your income. And then as you gain more jobs, more clients, you will start making more money in things like e-com and showroom outside of Fashion Week. This is also where you potentially gain all those new clients. They see your face, you get exposure, you get to meet them. It's like a casting when you're at the runway show. They get to see your personality, and they may then secure you for showroom bookings. Then there is Market Week. So showroom is during Market Week, and Market Week follows Fashion Week. So this is the time when the designers and companies invite buyers to come see all the upcoming product in person and order what they want, and they get to see it on a model. It could be one day, or it could be 4 weeks, 5 days a week, even 6 days a week sometimes, depending on the company and how many buyers they have, how much budget they have, do they own the building, all kinds of things like that. In my experience, my showroom clients have been very large companies that book me for like 3 weeks at a time, 5, 6 days a week. So it's very good bookings, and they book 4 times a year. Now, not everybody has Market Week 4 times a year, again, based on their buyers and their budget. But if you can get into those clients, you can have a lot of work consistently for years to come. They will continue to reuse the same reliable models because they just like the ease of you knowing what to do and what the company is about and what kind of face and what kind of vibes they're looking for. So Market Week can be very profitable if you enjoy it, but not everybody likes showroom. A chart. This is something that your agency will keep, and if you do not have a rep, I suggest you keep your own. It's a calendar where your bookers are able to keep track of all your castings, your bookings, your holds, your bookouts, so that way they can look back and see things, they can look ahead and see things, they make sure you're not going to miss anything, they make sure they don't double book you, and you're able to come in and check if you need to book out what's happening in the near future. What is a bookout? This is days or hours you can't be available for a booking, casting, fitting, or other work. Things like vacations, doctor's appointments where you're going to be out for like 3, 4, 5 hours, booking with other agencies, even an important birthday party or a wedding. If you don't want to be working, you need to communicate that with your agency, specifically what date and time. If you want to share more info, you can if you feel comfortable, but you don't have to. A model bank, also known as a model account. This is another chart. It is literally typically an Excel chart, and that is where they keep track of all of your jobs that you've done, who owes the agency money in your name, all of the expenses from the clients, all of the expenses from the agency. When they get a payment from a client, they will take out their commission. They will then take out any expenses from the client that the client hasn't paid back yet. They will take out any expenses that you owe the agency, and then they will give you what is left if there is anything left. And that is all on your model bank or model account. And you can always ask for a printout or for an email record of this at any time to see what's going on. And that would be to either your agent, or if your agency has an accounting person, you would email or call them. An advancement fee. This refers to a charge from your agency for advancing you money for jobs you have already booked, you've already shot them, but the client has not sent the payment to the agency yet. The agency typically charges another 5% on top of the 20% they already charge you for commission when giving this advancement fee. Now, in California, there is a law that says you are to be paid the day you work, and every single agency in this city knows about the law, but they fail to inform their models about this law, and they do not enforce this law with their clients. So I do believe that the 5% is fraudulent and that you can get them to waive it if you need an advancement. But in other states, you do not have that law and they can do whatever they want. That is everything for your agency terms. As always, if you have any questions or feel I left anything out, please comment below. If you feel this is working for you, please share it with me in email or share your wins on social media using the hashtag Modelesque Mindset. And as always, if you would like to book a virtual one-on-one with me, the link is provided.